All right, so get this. You know how baseball pitchers get that wicked curveball or that sneaky slider?
Yeah,
It's not just skill.
right.
It's science.
Absolutely.
And the secret ingredient is mud.
Mud.
But not just any mud. We're diving deep into the mystery of baseball's magic mud today.
It's amazing, isn't it? For years, this mud has been shrouded in secrecy, passed down through generations of pitchers, and whispered about in dugouts. But now, thanks to some intrepid researchers, we're finally starting to understand what makes it so special.
We have a brand new study, hot off the presses, from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences.
Wow.
Seriously, this is the big leagues of science journals.
It is.
And they've gone all out analyzing this mud like never before.
What's fascinating is they've proven what pitchers have known intuitively for decades. This mud is more than just superstition. It actually changes the game by giving them an incredible edge in terms of grip and control.
Okay, so first things first, where does this magic mud even come from?
The origin story is pretty wild. It all starts with a family, the Bintliffs, who for generations have been harvesting this mud from a secret location somewhere in the swamps of South Jersey.
Wow.
They're like the guardians of this hidden treasure, supplying it to MLB teams across the country.
And for years, nobody really questioned it.
Yep.
It was just part of the ritual, the tradition of the game.
Right.
If it worked, right?
Exactly.
But these researchers weren't satisfied with just taking people's word for it.
Right. They were skeptical, too.
Yeah.
It's easy to dismiss something like this as just folklore or superstition, but they decided to approach it scientifically. And what they discovered is that this mud, this seemingly simple substance, actually has some remarkable properties that give pitchers a real advantage.
So let's unpack this. What makes this mud so special? What did the researchers actually find?
They focused on 3 key properties: spreadability, stickiness, and friction.
Okay, break those down for me.
Spreadability is pretty much what it sounds like, how easily and evenly the mud coats the baseball. It's like finding the perfect lotion you want, smooth, not clumpy. And this mud, it spreads like a dream.
Okay, that makes sense. What about stickiness?
Stickiness measures how well the mud adheres to the ball, and the pitcher's fingers, you need that grip, that connection to really control the ball.
And friction, that's all about the grip itself, right?
Exactly. Friction is that force that resists movement between two surfaces. In this case, it's about how the mud affects the interaction between the pitcher's fingers and the baseball, more friction, firmer grip.
So this mud somehow increases friction. I'm starting to see why they call it magic. But how do they actually test all of this? Do they have pitchers throwing balls covered in mud in the lab?
Well, not exactly. They actually came up with a pretty ingenious way to test the friction. They created a special artificial finger to simulate the feeling of human fingertips.
Wait, what, a robot finger?
Essentially, they made this rubber-like material that had the same elasticity as skin. They even coated it with oil to mimic the natural oils on our fingertips. Talk about attention to detail.
Wow, that's some serious dedication to mud science. So what did they discover? Did the mud actually live up to the hype?
They found that the mud consistently and significantly increased friction. It gave their finger a much firmer grip on the baseball, proving that this isn't just some old wives' tale. This mud really does make a difference.
Amazing. So are they thinking of bottling this stuff and selling it as the next miracle grip enhancer?
Well, MLB has actually tried to create synthetic versions of this mud, but nothing comes close to the real deal.
Why is that what makes this natural mud so special?
The researchers believe it comes down to the mud's unique composition. It's this perfect blend of silt clay and other minerals that they haven't been able to replicate in the lab. There's something about this specific recipe that nature has cooked up that just can't be artificially duplicated.
Interesting. So we know this mud is special, but why should we care if it's just baseball, right?
That's where things get really exciting. What we're seeing here is a case where a natural material is outperforming our best attempts at synthetic replacements, and that has implications that go far beyond the baseball diamond.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Think about it. What if we could apply this knowledge to other fields? What if we could harness the power of natural materials to create more sustainable and effective solutions in industries like manufacturing or transportation? This mud could be a model for a whole new way of thinking about innovation.
Wow, you're right. This suddenly feels a lot bigger than baseball. This mud is like a tiny window into a whole world of possibilities.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to explore in more depth as we continue our deep dive into the fascinating world of baseball's magic mud.
Okay, we've established that this mud is pretty special, but I'm still a little fuzzy on the details. How did they actually figure out what makes it tick?
Well, the study really goes into the nitty-gritty, which I love. They didn't just want to observe that the mud worked. They wanted to understand why and how.
Yeah, the whole robot finger thing was pretty impressive. It sounds like they were really determined to get this right.
Oh, absolutely. They knew that using real human fingers would introduce too many variables. Everyone's skin is different, the amount of oil they produce varies, even the pressure they apply can change.
So the robot finger was the key to getting consistent, reliable data.
Exactly. And that level of precision is crucial for any scientific experiment, especially one with such potentially groundbreaking implications.
So walk me through it. They had their super scientific finger, they had the mud, they had the baseballs. What did they actually do?
They designed a series of tests to measure the friction between the artificial finger and a baseball, coated with varying amounts of mud. They also experimented with different types of baseball leather to see if that made a difference.
So they were really trying to understand all the nuances, how the mud interacts with different surfaces.
Exactly. And of course, they needed to compare these results to a baseline baseballs with no mud at all.
I bet you can guess what they found.
You bet the mud consistently, without fail, increased the friction between the finger and the baseball. It made the ball grippier, plain and simple.
Which for a pitcher is gold, right? More grip equals more control.
Precisely. A better grip allows for more control over the ball's spin and trajectory, which means more movement, more deception, and hopefully for the pitcher at least, more strikeouts.
So it's not just about throwing hard, it's about throwing smart, and this mud helps them do that. But I'm still stuck on why MLB hasn't been able to just cook up their own version of this stuff. What makes the natural mud so hard to replicate?
That's the million-dollar question, and the study doesn't give us a complete answer, but it does hint at a few possibilities.
Ooh, lay it on me.
Well, when they analyzed the mud, they found that it contains a specific blend of silt clay and other minerals. It's possible that this precise combination, this specific recipe from nature, is what gives it those magical properties.
So it's like a secret formula that nature's been perfecting for millions of years, and we just haven't cracked the code yet.
It seems that way, and, it's pretty humbling to think that something as simple as mud can still outperform our best attempts at synthetic engineering.
I'm starting to feel like we underestimate the power of nature all the time. But let's shift gears a bit. I'm curious, did the researchers talk about any other potential uses for this mud? It seems like this kind of grip-enhancing, friction-increasing power could be useful in other areas.
You're right on the money. They actually touched on that in the study. They believe that the principles behind this mud's effectiveness could be applied to other fields where friction and lubrication are important.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me some examples.
Well, they specifically mentioned the potential for developing more sustainable and eco-friendly lubricants.
Hold on, you're saying this baseball mud could revolutionize the lubricant industry?
It's not outside the realm of possibility. Think about all the machinery and equipment that rely on lubricants, cars, airplanes, industrial robots, the list goes on and on.
And most of those lubricants are petroleum-based, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly great for the environment.
Exactly. So if we could harness the properties of this natural mud to create biodegradable, non-toxic lubricants, it could have a huge impact.
Wow, I'm blown away. This seemingly simple mud is opening up some serious possibilities.
And that's what's so exciting about scientific research. You never know where an investigation might lead or what doors it might open.
This has been an incredible journey so far, but I have to admit, all this talk about mud science and the future of lubrication has my head spinning a little.
I hear you. It's a lot to take in. But the big question we haven't fully answered yet is, why should all of this matter to the average person who may not even be a baseball fan? What's the takeaway here?
That's a great point. Let's take a minute to digest everything we've learned and then come back to that big question. All right, I think I've caught my breath. We've covered a lot of ground here, from the swamps of South Jersey to the cutting edge of science. But before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the bigger picture. Why should anyone who isn't a pitcher or a scientist care about this mud?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? At its heart, the story is about so much more than just baseball. It's a reminder that nature often holds the keys to solving some of our biggest challenges.
Yeah, it's almost like we've gotten so caught up in our own cleverness, our technological advancements, that we've forgotten to look to the natural world for inspiration.
Precisely. We tend to think that anything natural is somehow inferior to something created in a lab. But this mud is a perfect example of how nature can outperform even our most advanced technologies. It's been honed and refined over millions of years of evolution, and we're just beginning to understand its secrets.
And the implications go way beyond just baseball. If we can figure out how to replicate or harness the properties of this mud in other areas, the possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
Absolutely. Think about the potential for creating truly sustainable lubricants, as we discussed earlier. Imagine a world where our cars, our factories, our entire industrial infrastructure could run on lubricants that are not only effective, but also biodegradable and non-toxic.
That's a game changer, not just for the environment, but for human health as well. We're talking about reducing our reliance on fossil fuels, minimizing pollution, and creating a healthier planet for everyone.
And it's not just about lubricants. This research could inspire new ways of thinking about adhesives, coatings, even building materials. What if we could create structures that are as strong and durable as concrete, but made entirely from natural, sustainable materials?
It's amazing to think that something as humble as mud could hold the key to a more sustainable future. But it also makes you wonder what other secrets are out there waiting to be discovered. What other natural wonders are we overlooking?
That's the beauty of science, isn't it? It's a constant process of discovery, of pushing the boundaries of our understanding. And this research is a perfect example of how curiosity and a willingness to explore can lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
So to our listeners, I say this: keep your eyes open, keep asking questions. You never know where the next scientific wonder might be hiding, waiting to be discovered. It could be in your backyard, in your kitchen, or even on a baseball field.
And remember, sometimes the simplest solutions are the most profound. Nature has a lot to teach us if we're willing to listen.
This has been a truly enlightening deep dive into the fascinating world of baseball's magic mud. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.